Hello and good evening. And this is our second session of Wanderhome. My name is David, use he, him pronouns. And this game is being run as part of the Gauntlet, which is an online role-playing group. We get together, play games, much like this one. We have loads of games usually being run at any one time. These are all arranged with a central calendar. You can find out more information about that, where games are often available to sign up for at gauntlet-rpg.com. So do check that out. We also have a number of podcasts. We have a gaming magazine called Codex. We publish some games as well. So you can find information on all that sort of stuff on the website. So yeah, check it out. And yeah, as I said, this game is Wanderhome, which is a game by J Dragon. It is a game about animal folk living in the world of Heath, going on journeys, seeing sights, meeting people, and generally getting involved in all sorts of hijinks and the like. So as mentioned, last session I did a proper intro to this. So if you want to check that out, then see the one before this. I will be sort of facilitating this game, but I will also be playing a character as of today. So I will introduce them in a moment. But before I do that, I'll ask our players if they would like to introduce themselves and the character they are playing. So we'll start off in character keeper order, which I think means Jose, yourself, if you would like to go first.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Jose, and my pronouns are he and him. And I'm playing Barnaby, whose pronouns are also he and him. The playbook is the Caretaker playbook. Barnaby is an otter that cares for small and forgotten things. And he carries about a bunch of small and forgotten gods. Upon his person, we haven't established exactly how, the shrine that is his person, looking for homes for them, I believe. And yeah, and he's part of this merry band that has just made it to the town of Floatsham, and is investigating some things.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Oh, sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. It was me next, right? So yeah, my name is Dana. My pronouns are he, him. I'm playing Tal, the veteran, who uses he, him, or they, them pronouns. Yeah, Tal is a veteran who wields the blade that must never be drawn again. Yeah, I guess Tal is a dangerous animal, a wolf with kind of snowy white fur. And wields the blade, which is, I think, usually hidden behind a billowing cloak. And yeah, they are learning a few things from their companions, how to weave nets and how to monopolize the tea supply. And yeah, getting along with both our companions in a strange way. I guess the town of Flotsam has some curious rumors about it, which may or may not concern Tal. I'm not sure yet, so we'll see.
Awesome, thank you very much. Yeah, and yeah, as we said last time, we explored a little bit of the town of Flotsam, and the notable things that we discovered here, obviously the tower, it's a sort of lighthouse which appears to be haunted, or is allegedly haunted anyway, according to local rumor. There is we got to meet a couple of the denizens of the town, and also learned somebody who might be able to offer us all passage onto our next destination. I will be introducing my characters today, so I'm going to do that now. So I'm going to be playing a poet, is the playbook. this poet in particular is a rook. His name is Quoth, and he uses he/him pronouns. So for my descriptions for Quoth, I have to choose two things people assume that I am based on my writing. And I think that those are the things I've chosen that Quoth is assumed to be from his writing style is formal and pretentious. I think he writes kind of very that's the word I'm looking for. Yeah, in a very kind of elegant style, but that's a bit perhaps convoluted, a little pretentious and formal, obviously. Two things that I actually am are casual and romantic. I think Quoth is actually a lot in person is not as stuffy perhaps as his writing may sometimes seem. So for my look, I've gone for a pair of delicate spectacles, which I think are probably pushed up onto Quoth's forehead in one of his pockets or lost as often as he is actually wearing them. Wears a long traveling cloak with loads of pockets in with various stuff in them. Amongst the stuff that is in his pockets are a seemingly never-ending supply of half-smoked hand-rolled cigarettes. Never seems to actually have a fresh cigarette in his mouth, but it seems to generate an awful lot of ones that are half-smoked. His hands are also constantly stained in ink, though it's often difficult to tell due to the black feathers that he has. He has he has one book that he is always reading from. So this is a little guidebook full of practical life advice gifted by a local bookseller when I set foot on this journey. And so, yeah, I think he has this sort of, guidebook that he's always reading in and referencing for sometimes accurate descriptions of the places we're visiting. And he has one thing that he has memorized, which is his mother's journal, which was written in her spidery handwriting and full of pressed flowers. I think that his mother was a wandering knight in her day, went on all sorts of adventures and the like, but those days are long past. He read through her journal many times, though doesn't have it in his possession anymore. And finally, the last thing to know about Quoth is that he is working on a writing project about this journey. And I think this is probably a kind of grand sweeping piece of work that's, sort of part travel journal, part collection of poetry, part sort of fictionalized story as well. The main theme about this piece of work that he's writing on is about the nameless godslayer who once wielded the heaven blade and the ruin that they left in their wake. The thing that kind of gets metaphorically intertwined with this sort of main thesis is just the everyday lives of the fellow travelers. And the one thing that unintentionally crept its way into the project are memories of his parents, scattered and hard to piece together. So those are sort of bits and pieces that kind of been found in his work. So yeah, that is Quoth. I'm just going to ask if anyone has any questions or anything they want me to clarify before I ask my initial questions of Tal and sorry, I'm blanking on names despite the fact that they are in front of me now. I've lost my tab.
Barnaby.
Barney, yeah, that's it. So yes, so yeah, did anyone have any questions for me first?
David, do you think Quoth is like already one of our companions, or do we meet him like in the pub?
I
As
think
we settle
probably
in?
we'll meet up in the town, though we may have our paths may have crossed in the past. I think.
Okay, cool.
So. I think I'm going to ask Tal, what is your favorite part of my writing?
So this wouldn't obviously be the thing you're working on right now, but something that maybe we've read before.
Yeah,
One of
yeah.
your previously published works. Okay. I think um, Tal, assumes that Quoth is pretentious. I think we've kind of you put that in as something people assume about you, but I think there's like maybe a sense of irony in the writing when you're describing other characters, like self-important, pretentious characters, and it's obvious to Tal at least that you are kind of making fun of their pretentiousness. I don't know if it. I mean, you're a poet, right? But maybe there's something in that poetry that makes it obvious that you don't think all too much of these high and mighty people.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds cool. Awesome, thank you very much. And Barnaby, what do you have to keep explaining to me about the world?
Well, I would imagine that if Quoth is writing about high and mighty characters all the time and grand events and generals and princes and queens and such, Barnaby would be reminding him over and over again about the small and forgotten people in the world that don't take part in all of these grand narratives and arcs and live their daily lives with no one noticing.
Awesome. I like it. Thank you very much. Cool. So, awesome. I believe sort of where we left things last time, we'd sort of settled in at the tavern, and I believe had plans to maybe go and investigate the lighthouse.
Yeah, I think Barnaby and Tal had planned to climb up there to visit the keeper because they're obviously lonely.
That was my motivation. No one visits them ever. That's what the gull said. Chip.
Awesome. I'm just wondering whether to introduce Quoth now or possibly do that later. No, tell you what, I'll introduce Quoth later. I'll if we want to do some time in the lighthouse, I can either turn up there or just move on to that later on as people fancy. So yeah.
So I think we were planning on going up there at midnight or something. To the best time to catch a ghost. Do you think Barnaby is a type of person to like stay up late or go and have a nap and then wake up to go on this expedition?
I think Barnaby's kind of pretty gregarious, and so I think maybe he's excited to be in the town. Not that he doesn't love his traveling companions, but and so he's taking in the ambiance of the tavern a bit, and maybe he's sitting at a table, and maybe he has some of his little raucous little sapling gods are out on the table doing a merry jig on the table with him, and he's laughing and having a what are we drinking here? It was a special kind of tea. Well, I can't remember exactly what we were drinking, but whatever
Was it apple cider?
Oh, it was crabapple wine. It was crabapple wine.
Yes, that's it. Yes.
Crabapple. Drinking crabapple wine and having some kickback time.
What's the name of Barnaby's sapling gods? It's not Groot by any.
Let me see. I don't know if they have names. They are a family of sapling gods, and they are all raucous and intertwined. Maybe they all have one monosyllabic names. I think. Maybe like they can just be simple names like Joe and Sam and Pete. How about that, Joe and Sam and Pete? There's a little family of brothers.
I think Tal is probably catching 40 winks, kind of curled up in a bench by the fire and catching some shut-eye, which I guess might be something that they do fairly frequently if there's a chance. So I think.
And Barnaby's keeping an eye on to make sure that the sparks from the fire don't get into Tal's fur. And so at one point he goes over and readjusts the screen to make sure that Tal's okay during his nap.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. So I think. I think it's something that Nathan had mentioned like last time is that maybe Tal's instincts are still a little bit raw, a little bit dangerous. So maybe there's a moment when you wake him up that there's like the baring of teeth. Which kind of shows off one of the looks for Tal is a broken tooth. So I think like one of the big canines is just like almost entirely gone. Just snapped. Time to go. You woke me, right?
Just coming over to make sure you were all right, Tal. Those sparks were coming quite close to your fur, and I wouldn't want you to get harmed. But I took a leap. I think Barnaby took a leap when he saw the snaggletooth. A little leap back and a saunter forward when he saw that the coast was clear. But yes, let's go visit the ghost now. Are you rested?
Okay. Yeah, ready to go. So I'm wondering, I guess it's the middle of the night, right? Because it's midnight.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering what this, what it looks like now. This kind of lighthouse or tower. I think you described it last week as having this kind of blue spectral glow.
That's right. Yeah, it's sort of sort of phosphorescent bluish color.
So maybe it operates a little bit, on kind of another level as a lighthouse. Maybe that kind of phosphorescent glow extends out like a stream of bioluminescence, like cutting its way over the water, so that ships and skyships can follow it to a safe path. So
Yeah,
you
that
see
sounds
this,
good.
stream going through the air of this sparkling blue light.
Yeah, and I can imagine us walking down. Obviously, it's a cobblestone street, and it's kind of echoey because a lot of people have gone to bed. This is a relatively quiet town, so it's midnight, and I imagine people are in bed. So it's just the clap of our footsteps as we walk down the cobbled road in the direction of the tower. Just Tal and I. Joe and Sam and Pete are resting in their shrine somewhere in my pockets.
So did you meet anyone interesting tonight, Barnaby?
I spoke to a very well-mannered lizard man who told me a story. He's new to town, so he didn't know anything about the tower or the ghost, but he did tell me a story when he was watching you sleep by the fireplace. He told me the story of a wolf that he once knew who was a hero in his town and saved the town from his own pack who were coming to ravage it. And I love that story because I know you have a good heart, you Tal. I can imagine you would save us if we were in trouble.
From a whole pack? No.
You can be pretty scary. Formidable, maybe I should say. Formidable, yes.
What, over that last pancake in the mornings? Yeah, it's pretty dire circumstances.
Did you have any dreams while you slept by the fireplace?
I think Tal lies and says no. I'm not sure how attuned Barnaby is to Tal's kind of truthfulness.
I saw you twitching and some little sounds came out of you that I've never heard before come out of you. So I wondered if you had had any dreams, but many times we don't remember our dreams. So maybe you've forgotten.
Yeah, that sounds likely.
Barnaby drops it.
Okay. So yeah, I don't know what. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, what's it like when we approach the tower? I wonder.
Yes, I think as you approach the tower, it does, though it's obviously a big and sturdy construct, it does also just have that slightly like ramshackle look to it. It feels kind of, or it none of the walls seems to be quite angled in the same way. It sort of just has that like slightly twisted look to it. There is a big, heavy wooden door with a big heavy iron ring attached to it. But even sort of from here, you can see it doesn't seem like it's actually got like a lock or anything like that on it.
Mm-hmm.
Do we
Do we
knock?
It would be polite to knock. Barnaby gets down and looks at the crack underneath the door to see if he sees any light. And he doesn't see anything except just the luminescence of the building itself. Can't see any feet either. I don't see anything.
I think Tal is kind of leaving Barnaby to his, I don't know, spying. I kind of just maybe steps back to the bottom of the steps and looks up and kind of nervously drums their fingers across the pommel of the sword. Any sign?
No,
I think
nothing.
We could just knock.
We should knock. Okay, knocking's good. Let's knock.
Yeah.
I can imagine them both lifting their paws to knock, and maybe we knock together.
Yeah, and I think like there's that kind of booming, echoing sound of the knock, kind of echoing in up the inside of the tower. Beyond, I think a single roof tile dislodges and falls and shatters on the cobbles next to you. But then, other than that, there's no response.
See, this would send the first, curious seagull flying. This is why this place gets no visitors. Roof tiles that fall at exactly the wrong moment.
But we have more gumption than Chip the seagull.
That would not be difficult.
He didn't seem like a bad chap.
No, but
just a little flighty.
Yeah.
If you could say that about a bird without being offensive.
Cheeky. Well,
cheeky.
There are birds who definitely wouldn't say flighty about. Should we open? We can open. I'll open the door.
Yes, open.
Okay. So yeah, I'll just grab the doorknob or the whatever it is and push.
Yeah, I think it does that proper, horror film big creaking sound as it opens, but it does open with no trouble. And I think inside, there's still that kind of blue spectral light lighting up in here. I think there's kind of a just going by the little diagram there. I think you've kind of got that. There's obviously you come into like a big open space with a stairwell leading up, though it's obvious that there are kind of like rooms arrayed sort of around the tower as it goes up. It's not just a kind of empty space. And I think as you sort of come inside, a figure does walk down the stairs towards you. They have a similar that same glow to them as well, that same sort of phosphorescent glow. They are a salamander, clearly. But yeah, as I say, they do have that kind of slightly luminescent look to them and slightly maybe slightly see through, or maybe that's just the effect of the light that's kind of surrounding them. But I think they will look towards you and say, I do not receive many visitors here. Do you wish to come inside?
Yes, if we may, Sir Salamander. We would love to see more of your lovely tower.
And I think the salamander will just kind of nod, but I think they will nod, but then I think they will just kind of turn around and start walking back up the stairs again.
Barnaby shoots a look to Tal and bounds up the stairs after the ghostly salamander.
Yeah, I think Tal is, a little bit more, or maybe a little less enthusiastic than Barnaby. But yeah, walks up the stairs after them.
Mm-hmm. So Barnaby's, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I guess I'm asking our salamander lighthouse keeper. Is there anyone else here?
No,
Seems
not
like quite the job for one.
Not anymore, just me.
So I imagine as the light keep the salamander is moving up the stairs. I imagine he's kind of just floating up the stairs, right? No feet, like doing the floaty ghost thing. And Barnaby's caught up with him and is just like looking up at him and taking him more in than the environment, even though he said that he was interested in the tower. He's actually more interested in the ghost, and he doesn't want to be rude and ask him whether he's lonely, but he's trying to see if he can see any signs that the ghost might be lonely. And you don't have to answer that. Just that's what he's doing.
No, that's cool. And yeah, I think there is definitely a kind of melancholy air to the salamander. They definitely have that kind of wistful look to them, and I think they're just going to sort of continue walking up these stairs that sort of wind around the outside of the tower. But yeah, I think they will turn to you, Barnaby, as you're sort of walking alongside them, and say, do you want to hear the story of this place, of me?
Yes, please. But before that, I realize we have not been properly introduced. And Barnaby sits up on his two legs and takes a bow and says, "My name is Barnaby, And this is my friend Tal. What might your name be, Mr. Salamander?
My name is Wick. It's nice to meet you both. Forgive me, my manners are a little rusty.
No worries. We would love to hear the story, wouldn't we, Tal?
Oh, sure.
How did you come to be in this place as the caretaker of this grand tower?
My family looked after this lighthouse for generations. But over the years, our numbers dwindled until there were none left but me. At this point, you can kind of see tears sort of welling at their eyes. I had a partner once, but she went out on the boats one day, and a storm took her, and then I was alone. I lost myself to despair, and kind of and there is definitely like a kind of sob to his voice now, and it says, I became the person you see now. I am still able to keep this lighthouse running, but there is little else left of me now.
So Barnaby's little paws are up at his mouth and his eyes are really big and watery as he's almost bursting into tears at the story himself.
Yeah, I think Wick has just sort of fallen into sort of a silence, almost kind of that like silent sobbing, but it's kind of difficult to tell because as I said, their features are a little indistinct with a bit beneath the glow.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you think, Wick, there are others who might feel the coal like you do? It seems like a noble profession to keep a lighthouse.
I do what I can to keep people safe, to keep them coming back to the town. It is a burden I can shoulder, and it gives me purpose.
Well, that's good, but I think it would be even better if you found someone to share the burden with.
Perhaps but there are a few. As I say, I have not had visitors in. I do not know. The time sometimes seems to slip through my fingers, but
Do either of you hear that? And Barnaby looks around. I thought you said you lived alone here, Wick.
I do. And you can see they're kind of looking around. Not quite. They're not sort of. They don't appear like frantic or unnerved or anything, but they do. They definitely seem curious. So looking around.
And I guess there's some furniture in the house, in the room that we're in. Old,
It's
decrepit furniture.
Yeah, that's it. So there's lots of like cobwebby and dusty and so some of it seems to be in relatively good condition. Others is definitely coming apart
and I think Barnaby does his little hopping, skipping movement. I don't know how otters, they do this kind of undulating walk over to a dresser that is kind of falling apart against the wall, and peers into a drawer that's just barely open. It's just opened a crack. And at this point, and then maybe he pulls it open. And when he does that, you can hear kind of this humming, like someone's singing a song. And he peers in and he sees a little mouse, a mother mouse. It's a mother mouse with 3 little baby mice. And I think it's a ghost too. I think it's got that same kind of shimmery, ethereal quality of Wick and the whole building. And Barnaby gets a big smile on his face, and he turns towards the other two, and he points down into the drawer. You have roommates, Mr. Wick.
I did not realize. I thought it was just me here. But then, he kind of tilts his head to one side and says, "That said, I rarely enter the rooms these days. I mostly just walk up and down the stairs."
I wonder what other small and forgotten beings might be in the rooms of your tower that you haven't met yet. So should I play the little mouse, or if I'm not sure if the little mouse should speak or not. The mother mouse. Probably not. Barnaby shouldn't. But maybe Barnaby just tries to get her attention. She's very focused on her ghostly children, so she hasn't even noticed us yet. Actually, maybe Barnaby won't try to get her attention. I think Barnaby will just say, just kind of soak in the sweetness of the moment of a mother singing to her children, even a ghost mouse. And so he just smiles down into the drawer.
Nice.
Yeah. No conversation needed when silence is enough. That's one of the things I'm supposed to do, right? Say something in silence better than words can. That's right.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Tal will turn to Wick and kind of maybe like turn from Barnaby, hiding a smile, but showing it to Wick and saying, "See, you're never quite as alone as you think you are." I will spend a token to ease someone's pain, if only for a moment. That seems like a move that is applicable here.
Yeah, and I think you can see that kind of a weight lifting from Wick. He says, I suppose you are right. Perhaps I have been too focused on that on that which I've lost, and not enough on that which I still have. My family may be long gone, but this place, this town is still thriving, and I should be thankful for that.
Is that a good place to wrap up the scene?
Yeah, I think so. Unless anyone wishes to add anything else.
Say what you think.
I think it's fine there.
Cool. Yeah, no, then we can leave that there. And I think as you head out of the tower, I think the door doesn't shut behind you and remains open, and it's still sort of sheathed in that spectral blue glow all around, but I think you can see kind of a couple of like frittering, almost like firefly type traceries of light inside. Cool. And I think as we've just hit our first hour, we will call a quick break there. So if people want to come back at 10 past, say, and we'll pick things up from there.
Okay.
Cool. Welcome back, everyone. Oh, I forgot to stop the recording. There it was. Cool. So, I think with that, we can probably move things on to the next day.
One quick thing.
Oh, yeah. Good.
I didn't realize it, but when I do that, Hush, can you hear this thing? Or do you hear that? Tal, if you actually tried to hear it, you get a token.
Okay, sorry, I missed the. I had seen your first one, which is like, notice a little friend everyone else overlooked, and I thought that was the move you're making. I didn't spot the catchphrase.
The Hush, can you hear that?
Yeah, yeah. I didn't scroll down further.
Oh, that's okay. I didn't even realize that it involved a mechanic either. So
Okay.
Awesome. Cool. So yeah, I'm thinking maybe we can cut to the next morning with breakfast being served at the tavern, and I think Quoth will be sitting down at breakfast, probably scribbling something down in a notebook while drinking some coffee. Yeah, I think that's sort of where we see him.
I wonder if I will, if you want to meet with, I guess meeting each other would be a good start, but maybe after a while, I can have Bertha, the cat captain, come in.
Cool, yeah.
So which of us gets up earlier, Tal, me or you? Are you an early riser? You like to sleep.
Yeah, but I think maybe that's a catch sleep whenever you can, and
Oh, I see.
maybe Tal's habit is to be up at the crack of dawn, even with a midnight escapade. So
Yeah,
yeah, maybe
Barnaby gets
Barnaby is left
distracted.
alone at breakfast. Yeah.
I think Barnaby sleeps in a little bit and plays with his little gods in bed before he has a little ritual playing with them before he gets up for breakfast. Checks in with each of them. So he'll be later for breakfast. And I guess Quoth is like, birds always wake up early, right? Or is that a stereotype?
But yeah, no, I think that makes sense. I think Quoth is probably up fairly early. And we'll be Sophia said sat down at the breakfast table. Though they've probably got a like a bowl of porridge that's already half cold and barely touched.
Scrabble, 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 scrabble. I imagine it's kind of quiet in the tavern at this hour.
Yeah, I think so.
Are you like the only one in there when Tal gets up?
Yeah, I think maybe there's a couple of fishermen just having sort of a quick bite to eat. But I think other than that, it's fairly quiet in here. and I think the as he's sitting at the table, said scribbling in this notebook and drinking from his mug of coffee. I think he just for a moment watches the fire in the hearth here as it kind of flickers and burns, and he watches the kind of the pattern that the flames make and the curls of smoke that drift up into the chimney. And just for a moment, he just sits there and loses himself in the beauty of the fire. And then the moment passes, and he kind of cocks his head and scribbles something down in the margin of his notebook. And I'm going to take a token for taking a moment to watch a tiny moment of beauty.
Mm-hmm. So Tal, if you get up before I do, what do? You go down for breakfast, or where did you sleep?
Yeah, I think up at the crack of dawn, maybe grabbed something straight off the baking tray, and then maybe off to the lagoon or something.
Mm. So you don't cross paths with Quoth, yeah.
Yeah, maybe not yet. Maybe not quite yet.
You're off for a morning constitutional.
Yeah, exactly.
A jog. You got to keep fit. Mm. So then I guess I can imagine Barnaby coming down. I don't know if he had a room or just a corner somewhere that he had set up a bedroll, and he comes out into the area where Quoth is eating, and he's still kind of talking to Joe and Pete and Sam, who are a little too raucous in the morning for his tastes. I think he's a little, Barnaby's still a little bleary eyed after staying up late last night. He's not used to that with the excitement of of visiting the tower. And let me just take a quick look here.
Yeah. And I think maybe it's at that point that sort of Quoth looks up and sort of does a double take and says, "Oh, hello, Barnaby. Is that you?" And he kind of pushes his chair back and stands up.
Barney rubs his eyes; they're still a little bleary. He says, "Oh, Quoth, we haven't seen you in quite some time.
How are you doing? How are you doing?"
Coincidence."
And he'll kind of come over and hold his hand for Barnaby to shake.
There is a shaking of hands and wings. And good to see you. Good to see you, my friend. What brings you to Flotsam?
I was just I was coming here. Right, I don't know if you know, but there's a rumor has it that this is the very place where the I'm just forgetting the name of the figure of history I'm looking into. Yes, this was where the Godslayer was gifted the Heaven Blade, you see. So I thought I'd come here, have a poke about, get a bit of a lay of the land, get some background color, hear some of the local folk stories and so on and so forth. Yes, that's what brings me here. And how about you? It's a little off the beaten track here.
Yes, I've arrived with Tal. Do you remember Tal, the veteran from the wars? He and I have just only arrived yesterday in town. We're hoping to book passage. I don't know that we do know where we're going, but somewhere new.
Oh, excellent.
I think we're in search of adventure.
Makes sense. It's a worthy thing to find. Definitely. I obviously more interested in adventures that have already happened myself, but that said, travel in and itself is sort of an adventure in its own right, I suppose, isn't it? So in that way, maybe we are all of us going on an adventure. All of us going on an adventure, and kind of snatch up another notebook and just scroll down that in it.
And Barnaby picks up a sweet bun or something from a tray, and a mug of tea, I guess.
Yeah, I think as he does, he will realize that hand he shook with Quoth is now covered in ink. Yeah.
He rubs it on his coat a little bit. Shakes it. And Barnaby sits down to devour the sweet bun because now he realizes that he has quite an appetite. And as he does so, he breaks off, even though he's eating it pretty fast, he breaks off some small pieces to feed to, let's see, who does he feed it to? What, maybe, yeah, sure, the little sapling gods. They actually eat bread and sugar. They like it. They can't live on photosynthesis alone. Saplings cannot live on photosynthesis alone.
I mean, they're shooting up right now, right? That's the
they're still growing.
They need all the energy they can get.
They need all the energy they can get. A little extra glucose wouldn't hurt.
So, speaking of adventures, have you been up to anything exciting recently? Any particularly gripping tales you have to share?
Yes, we have. We visited someone last night who I think you should interview for your book, because they have been living in this town for many, 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 many years, and probably have a very unique perspective from up above high looking down. We met the ghost that runs the lighthouse here. Did you see it on your way in? The one with the eerie blue glow?
Yes, I did. I thought it was a little strange, but a ghost, you say? That's most unusual. Yes, if I'm sure it would be very interesting to get an interview with them.
You must know, though, he hasn't had a lot of visitors over the centuries, so his social skills are a little bit rough, so you must be patient with him.
I see. Yes. Well, centuries. We must have some great insights in the goings on of this town and the whole land. Well, I would have thought. Yes. How intriguing! Thank you, Barnaby. I will have to I'll have to have a chat with this this ghostly fellow.
Wick is his name. You can tell him that we sent you,
Excellent, Wick.
Tal and I. So what happened? What have you begun your research here in town, or have you only just arrived?
I've had a chance to speak with a few folk around town. I got here just the day before yesterday. Done some research in the town archives and so on and so forth.
And you are, if I know you, you are excitingly writing in response to everything that you have heard.
Yes, indeed. I've managed to take a wealth of notes, and I already think this can be the way this town acts as a great port and destination of for travelers across the land. I think matches very nicely with the way that it also marks the important part in the journey of the nameless god killer. So yes, it's a very interesting confluence, and I'm looking forward to using it to fill out the chapter on the early life and the beginnings of the journey of but sorry, I am going on somewhat. How is your breakfast?
Quite satisfying at the moment. The tea is warming me up, and I was thinking, now that I run into you, it seems serendipitous. If I might ask for your advice, you are a very learned fellow. And so Barnaby opens up his coat a little, and he whispers something into one of his pockets, and he's trying to coax somebody out. And so out slips onto his sleeve one of his little gods, a nameless ancient god seeking refuge in my shrine, who is feral and hurt. And I don't know what this god looks like. I think he looks like a little, it kind of looks almost toad-like in its shape, small, but it's furry instead of amphibious. And it doesn't really look like any animal that anyone would know. And it walks with a little limp as it walks along the sleeve of Barnaby's coat. And Barnaby says, "This is my friend. He has no name, so or none that I have discovered. He doesn't speak very much, but he's hurt, and I can tell he's very, very old. And since you've done so much research on nameless ancient gods, I wondered if you ever heard of cures for them when they're hurt, so I might help my friend here. Nothing I've discovered has mended his hurt leg. Do you know any stories, Quoth, that you've picked up in your travels?" I don't know if there's a move here. I'll be looking at that.
No worries.
While you think.
Yeah, but I think Quoth will say, well, I don't know about cures for gods. That's I mean, I suppose maybe it would seem likely that some sort of prayer or ritual might do it. But that said, those prayers and rituals are usually meant to appeal to the power of the god, and if it were in the power of the god to heal itself, the one would think that it would already have done it. But that does lead me to think that maybe the god is simply supposed to be like that, and whatever turmoil it is facing is perhaps less to do with the apparent physical injury and more, internal or spiritual even. But you would probably be the expert on that side of things, my dear friend.
And Barnaby takes a moment to take that in, and what does he do? He pauses and tilts his head to the side for a moment. And he thinks, you might be right, Quoth. Maybe there's nothing to fix here. Sometimes in my caretaking, I jump to try to help folks before I actually know what they need. And maybe this little fellow is actually quite fine the way he is. He does seem to like staying in my shrine, though, and perhaps it's simple enough for him for me to just be with him. Although I do like the idea of prayer. That I will think on. What would it be like to pray to this little god and see how he responds to that? You've given me much to think about, my friend. I thank you.
I do, if at all possible, try and offload most of my thinking onto others. So think nothing of it.
Barnaby starts stuffing more of the sweet bun into his mouth as he looks off into the distance.
You think now is a good time for Bertha, or ship's captain, or ship's cat, to relax?
Yes. Yeah, no, that sounds good.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, I guess from the picture, a proper tabby with I guess what looks like a rough collar and kind of, I don't know, pilgrimesque or Elizabethan clothes on. But yeah, I think she arrives into the pub or into the inn as if she's never been away, as if it's like her second home, and I think arrives at the bar next to Barnaby and Quoth, and kind of maybe stands and looks over and maybe shouts out for the innkeeper, or at least the bartender, to jump up and serve, and then kind of turns to Barnaby, maybe eyeing up the bun and the cup of tea greedily. Good folk. You're up early? Well, I mean, early for some. What news? I'm looking for something. I wonder how long you've been here.
Myself, only a couple of days. You said you just arrived. Am I right, Barnaby? But yes, if we can help, I suppose.
I am Bertha. I am captain of a fine merchant caravel that has just come into port this morning. And if I don't get a cup of tea quickly, I shall have to reach into my own pocket and pull out a flask. And it's far too early for that.
Barnaby pushes his mug towards her and says, "My lady, please help yourself to my tea. This bug is way too big for me." If you don't mind sharing.
I think she kind of harumphs at the my lady, but puts a paw around the mug nonetheless. I think she takes out a flask anyway, just to top it up.
Barnaby's eyebrows go up as he imagines what it's going to taste like.
It's
afterwards.
The sun is over the yardarm somewhere. And you, my fine Corvid, you have the look of someone of learning and erudition. What do you think?
Yes, certainly. The what with the passage of the sun over the world as it is, I think you're indeed correct that somewhere sun is indeed over the yardarm, and also it kind of depends how much the ship is leaning. I always find.
Ah, wow. I mean, if you've been taking a lot, the ship might not be leaning, but you will, right?
Indeed.
So what can I do for you, fine gentlemen, this morning? You looking for passage?
Why, yes, we are. Only we don't know where we're going. Does your boat go to such a place?
I mean, we will be going to such a place, and therefore I will deliver you somewhere. So from a certain point of view, I will take you exactly where you're going.
That sounds perfect.
If, however, you decide where you want to go first, then you may be disappointed.
Well, I'm sure my friend and I can put off deciding where we're going.
Until you arrive.
Until I arrive.
And then you will be very, very happy.
Because we'll have arrived exactly where we were meant to. Perfect. Did you say your name was Bertha?
I did.
I may have something of yours, Bertha. And Barnaby starts rummaging through all of his pockets.
The silver for passage?
Well, I'll get back to you on that, but but before that, and he pulls out the earring that he's found, and he kind of dusts or squeezes the grime that's still from underneath the bar stool. He says, "Might this be yours, Bertha?"
Oh,
Captain.
And, she takes it and holds it up to the light and peers at it and goes, "Oh, I knew I had dropped you somewhere. I just couldn't for the life of me remember that this was the sorry place that I had." Well, how fortuitous.
Indeed.
And I think she takes off her hat and sets it down on a stool and brushes her fur back from her ear and finds the right there's, I don't know, 3 or 4 earrings in it, and finds the hole missing its ring and pops it in.
You have beautiful jewelry, Captain. Do they have sentimental value, each piece?
Until I need to spend them, then they have no sentimental value at all.
Ah, what a shame. I was hoping there was some story attached to that beautiful ruby earring.
There is a story. wait till you hear this one. And I think in an act that might get you thrown out, if not barred from any reputable establishment, she leans over and grabs a couple of glasses and pours, pulls the tap from this side of the bar to give everyone a glass of small beer or something. Because this tale is thirsty business and thirsty for the listeners as well.
Barnaby's eyes open wide, and he takes his glass of beer, ready to listen.
So, um, yeah, I don't know. Should I come up with a story now after having bigged it up?
You could just tell it from afar, and we could do our expressions. The camera pulls out. She starts
It's
speaking, and we're
a
like,
tale-telling montage, right?
tale-telling montage.
Yeah, yeah. So I think it involves a broken mainmast and um, a storm the like of which this part of the world hasn't seen in decades, and it involves Bertha being marooned, and nothing sorrier than the visage of a drowned cat. I'm sure you will agree. And I think it involves some kind of mere creature who had uh, taken earrings off every sailor that had passed by her rock. I think it involved Bertha um, maybe taking a couple of these after she'd gotten on mightily with this mere creature and finally gotten picked up by some passing merchant vessel, of which she is now captain. Um, so
we don't know what happened to the previous captain.
I mean, this is unimportant for this particular story. And there's some other thing going on in this very pub 3 years ago when she had dropped this earring here. But again, a tale for another night when she knows you all better. So I imagine that tale takes till lunchtime or something, because there's lots of tangents and potted histories of people, and probably Tal arrives back at some stage in the middle of it, and yeah, wonders who these strange people Barnaby is hanging out with, looking very, very friendly with.
And Barnaby's a little bit tipsy, even though it's not even noon.
Yeah.
He's the lightweight of the group. Not used to imbibing.
You just can't. You can't leave them out.
Tal, come over.
Huh?
I want to introduce you to Captain Bertha. She's the captain of a ship going someplace. I'm
not sure how many
winks.
tautologies you've included in that sentence. Captain of a ship going someplace. Well, I should hope so.
We're hoping she might allow us to book passage on her ship. Remember? Isn't that why we came?
So I'm told.
Well, someone must have told me too, because I remember it.
Did Gus have a very particular route that he wanted to take to sell those chopkeys that would only ever sell in some particular place? I don't know.
You're right. And now that you mentioned Gus, I remember we didn't leave the crabapple wine for Wick last night. We'll have to drop that on his doorstep on our way home, on our way out.
I knew there was something you were forgetting.
Yes. So it was Gus's idea to take a journey from here. I couldn't even remember whose idea it was. But now that Bertha is here, she provides a route. or a venue or a method to our travel. She has many adventures she's been telling us, Quoth and me, about. Oh, do you remember, Quoth? You two have met. Tal looks like he doesn't recognize Quoth.
That's very I've dim memories, yes, I'm sure, but yes, it was it in that place with the the trees and the giant bees that they kept for honey and riding. Oh,
Yeah, yeah. Sweet Hollow, was that, or something?
yes, that's the place. That's the place. Yes, I did a brief stint there at the at the at the college. Yes, that's the one.
So you've was that research, or did you decide apiary or being an apiarist is not for you?
Oh, yes, it was. I was giving a series of lectures on. I think it was on the yes, the history and law of beehives.
Okay. Yeah, I think yeah, you wrote some of those poems. I think I quite enjoyed. I think.
Well, I certainly wrote some poems, and it's not entirely unthinkable that someone might have enjoyed them.
I mean, I think you've got a promising career as a satirist, at least. You know.
Well, thank you. I try my best, to keep up with well, the goings on and the toings and froings and so on and so forth.
So are you taking a trip with us? You want to go to wherever it is Gus has us going?
Yes, I think I'd pretty much finished what I was here for. I considered going out for a look around the lagoon, but I may put that off for now. What with the insects and the water and so on and so forth.
And I think you probably noticed that Tal's fur is a little bit wet, right? From obviously a swim in the lagoon. Yeah, it's I mean, it's worth a visit, I guess. I always take a swim there whenever I'm in the neighborhood.
Excellent. And how was the water this morning?
Yeah, I mean, kind of too warm. It's always too warm. I don't know how it manages, but it's always too warm.
I see. Well, perhaps I shall take a visit. I do enjoy a nice warm swim, as it were. Excellent. Did you see anything exciting while you were down there? Any notable sights or that sort of thing?
I mean, the waterfall is great. You know, that's kind of the extent of it. You know, it's. I mean, I can see how if you were the type, you could just quite easily spend all day, every day there swimming and lying around. You know, I think you could get sucked in pretty easily.
Excellent, fascinating. Thank you. Is jotting down some notes. I do like to hear people's experiences of the places they visit. It's always very enlightening, don't you think, to hear what people see and do and how it makes them feel. Very, very interesting. Thank you. Awesome. So we can probably fade out the scene there. It seems like a sensible point to do so. I guess. Sorry, hit my microphone there. I guess if is there any other scenes people would like to? Is there anything else people would like to explore here in town before we sort of start moving on to traveling onwards?
I'm wondering, David, despite Quoth's kind of dismissal of the lagoon, did you think you wanted to go there anyway? If you want to dig a little bit deeper into the Heavenblade, or
I could maybe go for a quick scene in the lagoon if people fancy that.
Sure.
Cool.
And we'll eventually have to go through the port to get, if we're going to go on Bertha's ship, we'll have to at least momentarily walk through the port.
Yeah. So what do you think? Maybe we can fit in 2 short scenes, one in each location.
Yeah, that sounds good. So, I think maybe we'll see Quoth kind of approaching the where the waterfall flows into the lagoon, and I think as ever we'll see him kind of stop there for a moment and sort of do a quick sketch of the waterfall and write down a couple of notes. And I'm going to ask, because it's one of my things that I can always do, what used to be here?
I wonder if there's like there's signs of like a sinkhole, or sinkholes that go deep into the earth, but that something has happened that's let the water in, and they've just filled these up. So these are maybe deep diving pools that you could kind of venture into if you were to swim in the lagoon or something like that. But way back when, this was just dry land, and these were great big sinkholes directly into the earth.
Cool. I like that. Yeah, and I think we maybe see Quoth, taking off their cloak and carefully piling all of their belongings up, and they are going to take a dip in one of these big sinkholes, and they're going to go down a little way and just have kind of a peer about the place.
Barnaby's always excited to swim, so he's probably doing a similar take the coat off, make sure all the little gods are happy on a boulder, sunning themselves, and is jumping into the lagoon to take a swim. Is floating around maybe on his back on the surface, grooming his fur. And looking up at the I think it's a bright sunny day. No cloud, not a cloud in the sky.
Yeah, I think Quoth's head will kind of break the surface of the water, and he'll say, "Yes, it is. It really is rather warm in these pools, isn't it? It's quite pleasant, somewhat like a bath, but larger. Well, unless I suppose you had a particularly large bath, but I certainly haven't seen one of such magnitude as this here pool."
Yeah, much larger than a bath. And look at the size of the sky. And the sky is like this brilliant blue, but it almost feels like you can see the vault of the sky, but it seems so far away. It seems quite vast, and the sun is shining bright in it, and the sunlight sparkles off the water in this almost magical way. And the waterfall is also drops into the lagoon, right? So yeah, so I think he's just basking in the grandeur of the beauty of the place, I think. Yeah. Is Tal coming in again? Tal, come in again.
I think maybe Tal is sitting on a rock by the shore, and I don't know. Maybe he had. Yes, he's not going to swim again today, and maybe he's like holding like the one of Barnaby's little gods who Barnaby didn't want to leave in the pocket as he lay down his coat or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe this is the closest look that Tal has had on, or at least the longest, closest look that Tal has had on one of these gods.
I think it's the Woad, the god of the mossy boulder. The mossy boulder. Yeah. He didn't want to stay in the coat because he wanted to soak up the light and the moisture from the lagoon.
Yeah, it's nice and warm here. Maybe it's a change of pace from a cold, dank corner. Maybe I'm giving moss a bad rap here.
Oh, and I took a token for basking in the grandeur of the world.
Yeah, and I think after a little bit of diving, I think Quoth is going to get out of this pool and is going to start walking towards the waterfall. sort of standing at the foot of it, eyeing up the height of it, and sort of looking at it quizzically.
And Barnaby, I imagine, hops up on a rock like right at the base of the waterfall, and just is kind of enjoying the what do you call it, the spray of the waterfall. And he yells over to Tal, bring Woad over here. He will very much like this.
I think so. Tal has been here a lot. And I think last week we had said, obviously, with the waterfall, you have to have a hidden thing behind it.
Grotto.
So, yeah. So I think Tal shouts over to the two of you to just walk through the curtain of the waterfall, and keep going till we get to the other side. Because it's a good thing to do.
Well, if you say so, Tal, I suppose I'll give it a go. And, oh, this is very invigorating, isn't it?
I mean, maybe sending a bird through this is not a great move.
I'd imagine Barnaby sweeps up next to Quoth and gives him a helping hand there to get him through the water. Maybe creates over him a little bit of an umbrella effect to protect him from the worst of the pounding.
I think as you're going through it, Tal shouts out, it's going to be quite strong, the water. Right?
Now he tells us. But we somehow managed to get through.
Yeah.
And I imagine it's dark on the inside. Well, it's not quite dark because there's light coming through it's a sunny day outside, so there's light coming through the water itself. So there is, but the inside, it's like a grotto or a cave, but all that kind of reflective light through water,
maybe there's pools in it, and you can kind of just see the reflection of the light off that is kind of light.
Yeah, and those sort of lines that you get sort of reflecting off of sort of dancing across the walls. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Improbable physics or special effects. I'm not sure what's responsible.
We've got a budget for special effects.
I think in the pool, maybe the kind of the pool inside the grotto, you see all of maybe a lot of salamanders that remind you of Wick, right? So lots of these, I don't know, kind of tadpole-y creatures swimming around the place. I think it's going to be really, really hot in here. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to intrude. This is quite a fantastic little cave you have here. I hope you don't mind us coming in. How's things here? What's I hope you're all enjoying yourselves. He'll sort of address the salamanders.
I can imagine they all stop what they're doing and they turn around and they all look at us all of a sudden with quizzical looks on their face, and their little axolotl heads turn kind of sideways. They don't get a lot of visitors. And Barnaby waves his paw in greeting.
But yes, it's a marvelous little place. I'm sure people would love to come and visit here. Though I can understand as well why you might want to keep it off the beaten tracks, it were, for a little haven away from the hustle and bustle of the modern world. But nevertheless, yes, lovely cave.
Excuse me, Mr. Salamanders. not to intrude, but are any of you all at all possibly related to Wick, a salamander who lived long ago?
So I don't know. Maybe there's like an excited chatter that breaks out at this.
Salamander chatter.
Yeah. And yeah, maybe one of them kind of sidles up to you in the water, and in like this tiny voice says, "Wake, yeah, he's our great grandfather or something. I don't know."
Really? Family? Well, we made the acquaintance of the ghost of Wick just last night, didn't? Oh, Tal's not here. I made the acquaintance of the Wick the Salamander's ghost just last night, and he lives in the tower. And I think he is been feeling quite lonely, feeling like he's lost all his family. Wouldn't it be exciting for you all to visit him someday? Get tales from your great grandfather?
Yeah, and I think excited chatter intensifies is the subtitles.
Excited salamander chatter intensifies.
Yeah.
We should be writing that into the chat.
The name of the episode.
Name of the episode.
Yeah, so I mean, I have no idea what these mysterious salamander-like creatures' life cycle is like. Maybe it's sprites, normal salamanders, ghostly creatures. That's the life cycle. But yeah, I think maybe you'll maybe not that they know, right? They'll one of them will get the idea to go visit when they're bigger, right?
When they're bigger. They're still little salamanders.
They're still little.
Wick's ghost was much bigger.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's a good place to call that scene. Sure. So yeah, did we want to have just like a last scene, just kind of getting ready to depart on the ship, and then that's probably a good place to leave the session, I think. Sure. And then we'll pick up next time when we arrive in our new destination.
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. Actually, I might say if we take just a quick break, mostly because I could just do it picking up some more water, but come back in about, we have, say 5 minutes, come back at 1:15, and then we'll jump into that scene, and I will actually remember to pause recording this time. Yeah, awesome. So we will go to the port. And yeah, so I think the port is obviously kind of the busy part of town. We see kind of a lot of people loading and unloading ships. There's also the kind of some more like there's slightly shorter towers here where hot air balloons are moored. As there's also a skyport here essentially, and I think yeah, we see kind of some little fishing boats pulled up that are obviously just used for local journeys, but we also see some larger caravels that travel all over Heath. Some of them are obviously kind of designed for traveling heavy seas. Some are designed just for kind of skirting the coast. But yeah, there's various different ships here.
Yeah, I imagine when we walk by, there's going to be fish sellers and so kind of open stall market kind of area where there's a lot of bustle and folks hawking their wares.
Yeah, and I think so they're making their way through the docks. Quoth is going to be getting continually distracted as he sort of sees interesting looking people wandering around and starts to have a quick chat with them and ask them a few questions about where they've been and where they're going.
And maybe there's an interlude between the scene of the waterfall and the docks is just you know uh, a little quick tableau of the door to the tower of the Wicks Tower and a bottle of crabapple wine on the doorstep, which hopefully he can share with his next guest. I'm not sure if ghosts drink. Some must.
And I mean, I think the way we describe the port, I think we have a lot of seagulls who are working on ships, and I think just the constant cacophony of that of the working gulls here is kind of almost overwhelming, right? It's just a constant barrage of sound and of people yelling messages across the jetties.
And they all have the little sailor suits on. The gulls all have the little sailor suits with the tie in front.
Yeah,
Blue and
lots
white.
lots of seagull sea shanties being sung and
what else lives here? I forgot. Oh, frogs. We haven't met any frogs yet. Yeah, frog sea captain. I have a picture of a frog sea captain telling tall tales, revealing some folks with tall tales of his travels, and he's got a big pipe as he leans against the post of one of the piers, telling a little flock of young impressionable seagull sailors his tales.
yeah, and I think Quoth will definitely join the group of sailors listening to his tall tales, and we'll be listening in rapt attention.
I think Tal is probably nudging Barnaby at this and maybe saying, maybe the last time Quoth sat down to this kind of thing, it turned out to just be a joke. It was like a really long-winded Shaggy Dog story. And kind of Tal says, I'm not quite sure whether Quote realized or admitted that, all that note taking couldn't go to waste.
I think he ultimately embellished it into something more suitable for his book. Don't tell him I said this, but I think he takes some liberties with the kind of things he hears.
I'm shocked. Shocked.
Is it called literary license or poetic license? That's what it's called, the license of poets.
License to thrill, yeah.
If it makes for a better story. And I think Barnaby is, since Barnaby is very focused on like small, quiet, forgotten things, this is a little bit intense for him, this environment. So I think he's sticking pretty close to Tal, and maybe just holding on to the edge of Tal's billowing cloak.
yeah, I think maybe we can maybe we find Bertha's ship docked here. Like we sit in the box and wait for Quoth to catch up. But like we're kind of on this little island of calm, maybe tucked away in the corner on the jetty, and there's still the hubbub going on, but we're in the shallows, so to speak, of this noisy river.
Yeah, and I think but probably at the point when Bertha is considering just raising the gangplank and getting underway. I think Quoth bustles up and says, "Well, that was the most fascinating thing. Tell me, Captain, have you ever encountered giant shrimp before? Shrimp the size of a zeppelin? I wonder if we'll see any of those on our voyage. It sounds fascinating, if somewhat frightening, I suppose. But well, the wonder of nature is truly a wondrous thing."
And I think Bertha, steers you out of the way of a really busy sailor, before you're brained by something. It says, baby shrimp. I've seen loads of baby shrimp. And when they are babies, they come down low, and the size of zeppelins. Yeah. But when they grow bigger, they go further up, and you don't see them very often.
I see. Fascinating. We'll have to keep our eyes peeled, I suppose. Fascinating. Yes, and he'll make a couple more notes.
I think the first mate is an octopus and is like helping raise all the sails all at once to get them on their way.
With 4 sheets of wind, but not on his boat. Yeah.
Is the boat? What's the boat like? The Carnival. Is it tidy or is it messy? Is it boats have to be somewhat.
I mean, it's
tidy.
kind of organized chaos, right?
It's
certainly now, as they're about to set sail, but I think the paint job is pretty crisp and clean. Somehow, they've managed to get enough of the right kind of paint to paint the ship in a relatively uniform fashion. Or maybe they've been really smart about picking which bits to accent in a different color, right? And I think all of the sailors have maybe not like the classic sailor outfit that the gulls have, but something a little bit quirky, like everyone has like the stripes are black and white instead of blue and white or something like that, or the hats that they have are all a particular kind that match maybe the Berthas.
But all at a jaunty angle, right?
All at a jaunty angle. And maybe, I think maybe it's a pretty mixed crew. So some gulls and obviously an octopus, but I think also other creatures that you don't see around Flotsam very much. Maybe like a cormorant or two, or some maybe the guy in the crow's nest. There's got to be a crow, right?
It's got to be a crow.
And then maybe some maybe some kind of amphibious mammals, like maybe a seal or something like that.
The seal. The cook is a seal.
The cook is a seal. Okay. Very loud, barks
Very
a lot.
loud, barks a lot, doesn't like anybody.
Yeah.
An elephant seal, let's put it that way. They bark a lot.
Yeah, so I think a big smorgasbord of different kind of creatures aboard this ship. We have to give this ship a name, don't we?
Yeah.
We'll give it just call it the Dolphin or the Golden Dolphin or something like that.
Is there a, what do you call that at the front of the boat? The figurehead?
The figurehead, yeah.
The figurehead, is that what it's called? Does someone want to describe that?
Yeah, well, yeah, I think if we're going to go with the Golden Dolphin, then it is a dolphin figurehead, but it's clearly, it's an anthropomorphic dolphin figurehead, like you'd have kind of the, woman's like
bosom,
torso and head. Yeah, exactly.
And Bertha is she just like presiding over the chaos? I think she just presides over the chaos. She's not barking orders. She's too she's not a micromanager.
Yeah, I think I think that's a good take. Like, she is like standing, I mean, after taking care of her guests, she's maybe standing on the quarterdeck and just kind of maybe scanning, right? Maybe marking things with her eyes as they come aboard or as they get done. And yeah, does not have to raise her voice at all during this process. So
that's right. I think it's clear that the crew know what they're doing, sort of thing. It's an experienced and relatively what's what I'm looking for. Yeah, just well organized and that again, even though it probably to an outsider's eyes, it does look chaotic, but at the same time, everything is getting done, and everything is sort of underway.
I don't think Barnaby has ever been on a boat on the ocean before. So I think he's I can see him on two legs, on top of a barrel, and kind of the wind blowing in his fur as he looks wide-eyed as the boat moves through the harbor, and the sails catch the wind, and they start leaving out towards the open sea. How do the others react?
I think Tal is maybe just leaning against the gunwale and looking out, maybe back towards land, but just maybe lounging is the is the better description. With an elbow on the railing, just looking out and trying to find his sea legs.
He's a land animal, that's right.
Yeah.
Dangerous animal, but land animal. A dangerous land animal.
And I think Quoth is kind of wandering around, poking his nose into bits of the ship, generally getting in the way of what's going on. And I think at one point the ship's surgeon, who's a rabbit, will kind of pull him to one side and engage him in conversation over tea in an effort to keep him in one place.
And we can assume that Gus is with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess we got Nathan to fill in the first detail when we build our next settlement, right?
Yes,
Right.
yeah.
Given that I put the blame on Gus for choosing our
Choosing the location, which someplace.
Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, I think then that's probably a good place to leave things for the evening if people are happy with that. I think maybe just as a last little bit, I think maybe as we're kind of casting off, I think whether or not we actually see it, I think we just kind of get that little image of Wick sort of waving from the little balcony at the very top of the lighthouse. Maybe the kind of the lights playing over the lighthouse kind of shimmer a little bit as he does so. But yeah, awesome. Thank you very much, everyone. I'm going to stop our recording now.